Afgelopen weekend bracht tweevoudig Formule 1 wereldkampioen en tweevoudig Indy 500 winnaar Emerson Fittipaldi een bezoek aan het TT-circuit van Assen voor de Classic GP. Hij werd hier herenigd met zijn kampioenschapswinnende Lotus 72 en reed voor het eerst samen op het circuit met zijn zoon Emmo. Een unieke gelegenheid om verhalen uit het verleden en heden te bespreken met deze Braziliaanse racelegende die Ayrton Senna op de raceway van Phoenix nog moest wegsturen. Yes, Mr. Fittipaldi, welcome to Assen. How does it feel to drive on a track like this?
No, I like Assen. It's a very historical place in Netherlands. First time I'm here, and it was very special to drive with my son today. Drive the Lotus Formula 1 car, and then Emmo's driving the Euro Cup 3 from MP. It's a very good team from here. And it's a very good experience. Very emotional to be together with my son first time.
Yeah, I can imagine. How long have you not been to the Netherlands? It's quite a time, I guess.
I was with my son a year ago when he raced in Zandvoort. I come to watch his racing. I think now, Holland is crazy about racing because of Max Verstappen. I feel that since my time, people here always love racing. Very special country for racing. Zandvoort's very historical. I remember, Jim Clark racing here, Jack Brabham, Formula 1 in the 60s. And now with Max, it's incredible.
All the legends and now the young boys like Max. Yeah, of course, as you said it, you drove with your son, Emerson Jr, Emmo. It was quite emotional, I guess, right?
Very emotional because we were talking before coming here. And then when they are sending the Lotus 72, Sander from MEP said, I'm going to send Emmo's car that you can drive together. It was a surprise. We're not counting on this. It was great surprise. Great surprise. And then after 2 laps, he passed me and disappeared.
How is it to be back in your old championship-winning car?
It's a fantastic feeling. That car is very special. It's a very iconic car, the history of Formula 1. I think was designed by one of the best designs ever in Formula 1, Colin Chapman. I was very lucky to be able to drive that car in my career.
Yeah, of course, the car which you won your championship with, one of the two, and you beat Jackie Stewart in that car, one of your heroes, right?
Yes, in 1972, we died so many times, and then 1973, he won and I was second. And Jackie was a fantastic champion, was, from the time of Jim Clark, Graham Hill. To me, they're like the monsters of Formula 1. The Jack Brabham, Jack Hicks, Chris Amon, Denny Hulme, Bruce McLaren. When I was a teenager, I was a boy in Brazil following in magazines. To me, it was fantastic to be race against these guys.
You said you had to follow Formula 1 through magazines. It's quite different from now. But your father was a motorsport journalist, wasn't he? How was he involved in Formula 1? Or was he even involved?
Well, not many people don't know this, but my father always doing broadcasting by radio for motor race for many years. Just after the Second War, he started, 1946. It's a very interesting story. In 1948, the Grand Prix of Bari in Italy, there was a Brazilian driver called Chico Landi, who was a very good friend of my father. My father flew to Italy with him, and was the first time Ferrari built a monoposto, like a Formula car, 1948, and this Brazilian won. And then the first win of Ferrari was a Brazilian driver. My father was broadcasting live to Brazil. And Commendatore Ferrari had the emblem of the nose of the car on his pocket. After one, he put the emblem on the car. And if you look at the history of Ferrari, the first win was a Brazilian driver. His name was Chico Landi.
He was the first Grand Prix winner. You were the first world champion. How special was that? Also the 70s. The girls liked you. It was a ruthless time in Formula One. A lot of things happening. Could you describe that era of Formula One?
I think it was, a very special era because it was, I call the hippie era, hippie time, different clothes. I had sideburns, big trousers, bell bottom, long hair. Was a different. And I think was the young people was a new fashion globally. Was the time of rock and roll, Elvis Presley, the Beatles. Was a big movement in the world. And then driving, we are very close to each other outside of the cockpit because there was so much risk, and we lost so many friends. But it was different. It was a very glamorous sport. Today still fantastic Formula One. Formula One, always Formula One. But I had fun on that time.
I can imagine. My father used to tell stories about you, and one story in particular, Watkins Glen with Mr. Clay Recazzoni. What goes through your mind when I say those two terms?
Was the only night that I could not sleep properly before the Grand Prix. We go to the last race of the year, equal points, myself and Clay. McLaren against Ferrari. And on the grid, we were very nervous. The McLaren mechanics, the McLaren team, the Ferrari team, everybody. And we start side by side. We could not look at each other. And Clay was a very good friend of mine. And then he takes the lead, go turn 1, turn 2, we go on the straight. We drop the rear wing of the McLaren. Normally Ferrari is very fast in straight. And then he look in the mirror, I'm coming. And then when I was overtaking, he pushed me on the grass. We nearly hit each other. But next corner, I was on the inside, I took. And I won the championship. I was, again, lucky to win, but it was tough time between myself and Clay. It was not easy on the track.
As you said, McLaren. Why did you leave Lotus, going to McLaren, a team that at that point never had won a championship?
I had already 5 years of Lotus. I want to leave. And then I had to choose the team for Philip Morris, for Marlboro. I went to England. I talked to Ken Tiro, ex-Jackie Stewart's team was very good, to Bernie Ecclestone, the Brabham, designed by Gordon Murray. It was a fantastic car. And then I went to McLaren. I had so good energy of the people. Very young people, most of from New Zealand. We are only 28 guys, and today is 1,000 in England. That's a difference of time. And then I went back to Lausanne, where the headquarters of Marlboro, and I say I choose McLaren. And then they ask me, the people from corporate, I say, Emerson, they never won. I say, well, but they have the motivation, the enthusiasm to win. And it happened the first year, very good people. And again, Lotus, McLaren was fantastic to me.
Two great teams. Yeah, I can't help it but look at the ring you have on. Two-time Indy 500 champion. You won Indy 2 times, 2 times world champion. About what achievement is bigger for you?
No, I think it's a different time in my career. I was much older when I was in Indy. When I was teenager, I was like 13, 14. We used to watch a documentary with a club in Brazil with my father about Indianapolis. And on the 50 was the Roadsters. And I watched was Bill Vukovich, Bettenhouse, all these people. And I was fascinated to watch Indianapolis on the films only. And watch Formula One. And when I joined Lotus, I asked Colin Chapman how was to win with Jim Clark to Indianapolis. And Colin Chapman loved it. Said, Emerson is a fantastic place. I like Indianapolis. And this is on my mind. One day I want to go to Indianapolis and happen. Very special to Indianapolis. you had a fantastic driver, Arie Luijendijk from Holland. He was tough, not easy on me. Extremely fast driver. And I'm sure he told the people in Holland, it's fantastic to Indianapolis. It's very special. It's over 100 years of racing, very traditional in America. I compare Indianapolis against Formula One like American football against our normal football. It's oval race is American football.
Yeah. I read a story. You were testing Indianapolis, going through, and you saw a little head out of the fence. Who was that? That was Mr. Ayrton Senna, wasn't it?
Was in Phoenix.
Oh, in Phoenix.
Short oval. And then coming out of turn 2, I saw a little head there, very close to the wall. Because when you're driving a short oval, even in Indianapolis, you come back about 2-3 inches the rear wheel from the wall at that speed. And then I'm thinking, who is this crazy guy? When I slow down lap, he put the face of Senna watching. And I asked Ayrton, I say, you crazy to be there so close to the wall? Emerson, I want to feel the vibration of the wall and the wind, buffeting on the wall. And was Senna watching.
Was he enthusiastic about one day participating in IndyCar, Indy 500?
When he tested my car, he liked the car. On the mid-90s, the car very similar to Formula One car at that time. And he wanted to race in Indianapolis. But he was very tied with McLaren, with Ron Dennis. And then it didn't happen.
Ron wasn't really happy about it, was he?
Ron didn't want him to drive in Indianapolis. To me, it would be a dream to have Senna and Mansell the same time in Indianapolis.
That would be great, huh? Yourself, Ayrton Senna, Nelson Piquet, Felipe Massa, all great drivers from Brazil. And now there's a new kid on the block, also at McLaren, Gabriel Bortoleto. How do you see him growing into Formula One?
I think Brazil needs a Formula One driver, Grand Prix driver. We don't have for the last, if I'm not wrong, 6-7 years. For the first time in history. Bortoleto is doing really well. We hope we have in the near future, I hope at least 2 drivers, Brazilian drivers in Formula One.
Who is the other one?
Well, there's a lot of young generation coming. My son, he has this dream to be a Grand Prix driver, Formula One driver. And there's a lot of young talents from Brazil coming along well. But it's very difficult. It's only 20 cars. We should have at least 2 more teams, 24 cars. I know Michael and Mario Andretti are ready to come to Formula One. I was in Indianapolis talking to the General Motors people. Cadillac's very enthusiastic to make an engine. And I think there's a good chance there'll be, next 2-3 years, a new team in Formula One.
Do you think it's a shame that Formula One initially didn't want to welcome Andretti into the sport?
I was very disappointed because at least they should welcome Andretti's and other teams. We should have at least 24 cars. This is my personal opinion. I know the existing teams, they have to split the money between the teams, but for the racing fans, for the spectators, for the sponsors, for the future, it would grow even more, Formula One.
And that would only be better for the sport.
Only be better for everybody involved. And I'm sure even in long term, even for the teams that existing now, because you have more sponsors, more funds, it would be great.
Yeah, my last question, of course, the end of the Formula One season is coming. Only 8 races to go, 7 after Baku. It's a tricky question, but who do you think will win the 2024 Formula One World Championship?
Well, mathematically, Max is leading. My opinion, as long as Max finish top 3, he's going to win the championship on, average on the podium. I know he's complaining about the team, about the car, but he's so talented that I'm sure that he's the best chance to win. Can happen Lando Norris, yes, but it's difficult. Next year, McLaren will have a much better chance. And Ferrari is coming back strong.
Of course. And, last week the news broke. Adrian Newey will go to Aston Martin. You worked with Adrian, didn't you? How good of a guy is he, personally and also designing-wise?
Well, Adrian is a genius of designing, like was Colin Chapman. I'm sure he's going to bring so much technology, design for the new Aston Martin. And he's a very quiet, very simple guy, very humble. He's still a very good friend of mine. He was a junior engineer on my team with Harvey Postlethwaite and Ricardo Dívila, the Brazilian engineer. And he was great, always great to see, great to work. And he's always thinking. If you look at his eyes, he doesn't talk a lot, but his brain's all the time thinking. And so he's always looking the other cars. Always looking. He's a genius of Formula One.
You think he can design a car for Aston Martin that can win championships?
I'm sure. He's capable. Possibly it's going to take some time, but for sure he's capable, yes.